Hi, Jasper Nation. It's Kelly Carroll. We're back with another Jasper chat. Today we're talking about careers, and we are joined by Rachel Cirelli, Director of Career Development in Manhattan's Office of Career Pathways. So, Rachel, thank you so much for doing this. We can't wait to hear your insights.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So can you tell us a little bit about, for someone who might not know what the Office of Career Pathways does, what your office does with our students and what you do specifically?
Sure. So I always tell students that we really follow like their career journey from start to finish. I think when a lot of people think about the career office, they probably envision, wearing a full suit and like going to an interview and you're just kind of going to the office when you like want that internship or want that job. And while that's a huge part of what we do, I think we really, again, support students their entire 4 or 5 years here. So we offer career counseling. So every single student has like a career counselor that's a specialist in their school. So whether it's a STEM specialty or a liberal arts specialty. So there's a bunch of different counselors in my office. And I mean, I would say, think of those counselors as like your college guidance counselor. And they're there, like they can give you assessments and help you figure out how your personality may be good for a certain career, what your interests, how that plays into careers, your skills, all those different things. So those like just beginning things we do, and obviously working with your career counselor, they're going to help you get a position and so on. So outside the counseling, we also have a number of really great programs we run. We run a mentor program out of our office. I'm sure, honestly, a lot of athletes have probably done it.
Yeah.
It's like you get someone in the New York tri-state area to really kind of mentor you the entire academic year. And though the program is only a year officially, a lot of these students are working with their mentor the entire time. I run a women's program. We actually have one of our basketball players who's in the program this year, and Tuli Mena was in it last year. It's for exceptional women on campus. It's a funded internship program. Kind of stinks this summer. That's one of the things that are impacted because we might not have housing, but I'll talk more about that later. It seems like a lot of employers are open to remote work, which is great. So we offer programs like that, but then we also do obviously like big events that are going to help students get jobs, like career fairs, and we do more like intimate recruiting events like an information session. We also have on-campus recruiting where employers actually come into our office, and then students like a factory are coming in and interviewing. We have a lot of technology that the office offers. We have Handshake, which is our job and internship database. So I encourage students like to be checking that because everything gets posted in there. And we also have like a platform where you could do interview prep remotely. So we offer a lot, but I think the big takeaway is that we want to be meeting with you and we want to get to know you, because really the earlier you start, the better. And for our juniors and seniors, don't fret, don't be concerned if you've never met with us. But I think sometimes like our freshmen, they kind of glaze over when they see us, like, oh, I'm not there yet. But we're very developmental. We're counselors first. We want to hear from you. We want to learn about you. We want to help you get the job you want.
Mm-hmm. And so much of that is hands-on and face-to-face. And, for all of us, networking is always that in-person, ordeal. So how has that stuff kind of changed or shifted now that we're all off campus and doing a lot of things remotely?
Yeah. So the great thing is that you still can meet with your career counselor, right? So you can email our career development office. You can email your counselor directly. And they're going to do appointments with you. And we leave it up to the student. We can do video, they can do phone. Some students are like in their pajamas, they're on the phone. They just want to be able to sit at their desk and relax. So we're still doing those remote appointments, and we're seeing that students are making appointments, which really makes me happy. Mm-hmm. We've been trying to really like reach out to students a lot, send emails, send different things. So students know that we are still doing, virtual career counseling sessions. And even if it's a resume critique, and, obviously we're sharing our screens and we're helping students edit their resumes. We're helping them do interview prep. We're helping them with everything. Outside of that, what we're also doing more of is there were a lot of employers that were set to like come to campus and meet the students. And a lot of times employers are coming to campus because they don't want to sort through all the resumes. They want to see a face. They kind of want to get the best of the best. And sometimes by being physically here, they can do that. But what a lot of our counselors are doing is they're doing like resume collections. They'll announce the job is open, like one that typically the employer was going to hire a few students for. And then what we're doing is we're collecting the resumes. We're serving as the first line filter, and then we're introducing the employers to those students. So while you could go and handshake and apply to everything, some of these positions, there's more of like a commitment from that employer, and they want to meet a lot of our students and they wanted to come. So we're trying to create that magic of like, all right, if we've talked on the phone with these students at this point, we've seen their resume, we know who the top 5 are. So we're trying to make that an easier process for the employers. We're also School of Business. You guys probably heard that your career counselor, he's actually creating a resume book. So for all our seniors, please email Chris Cerruti, that we could actually just ourselves bundle and give to employers. Once you submit your resume to him, he'll take a look. If it's not ready, he's going to schedule an appointment with you, get it ready, and make a resume bundle. Because we're just trying to, we're trying to like really make sure that we're being even matchmakers now, more than before. But I think, listen, it's hard for everybody to adapt. I'm a very extroverted person. This has been hard on me. I much prefer to see the students in person, but I think we all have to like recognize that for some of us, it's not ideal, but to still take advantage of it, try to make the most of it.
Are you seeing any trends for students that are getting those job interviews or getting those internship interviews of remote interviews, or are the employers looking for them to work remotely for the first few months that they're there? Are you seeing that yet, or is it still kind of adjusting and in flux?
What I notice is I'm trying to get, there's certain employers that like I needed certain things from them by this point. And what I've recognized is that things are a little up in the air. So I think like what I'm trying to do is give some of these employers space, because I think they're figuring it out. And I've noticed even from like a month ago till now, I'm seeing a lot of the employers feel more confident now, saying, I'm dealing with personally, I'm dealing with a lot of them for internships. And I would say 70% of the ones I'm working with right now have a remote option. So I'm really, and again, it's only been a month, but like, I feel like they're figuring it out and they're getting remote options in. I think some employers actually too that don't want to do remote, I think they're just making their some of their internships, they're like, we're going to start July 1. I don't know if that's just they feel like by then it might just work, or it might buy them more time to think about what these virtual internships look like. I think what some students are probably dealing with right now is employers saying, we don't know where we're at, just hold. And for those students, I would say continue to look on Handshake. Continue to look around, get yourself a backup plan. And then if you were to get something else, you could go to that first employer to say, like, I have something, I recognize you guys are really busy. Do you have a sense of where you're at? Like, I think, unfortunately for all of us, it creates this need to say, it's not done till it's done. I don't have it till I have it. As far as full-time work, it seems like a lot of employers are moving forward, but as we know, certain markets are just kind of like flailing. So I think everybody's kind of nervous. I think for the students that have offers and it feels like it kind of got to a standstill, again, I wouldn't, I'd keep your options open, continue to look, but I would also, don't rule it out, because I was even concerned for my women's program, for example, where I stood, but I would say, again, 70% are in the game. I think like for students, I think it depends on market you're in. Yeah, I just think you got to keep your options open, probably more than you would have wanted to if you felt like you almost had something.
Yeah, a little bit more flexibility than you may have thought you needed to have going in, but still a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity out there. Yeah, that's great. That's uplifting. I think a lot of the students will be happy to hear that. I can imagine the job search is stressful enough in normal circumstances. So
yeah.
So for anyone that would potentially have to do a remote interview or remote work, do you have any advice for them now that you've done it for a while?
I mean, I think for some of us, like, it can be harder than others. So like I have a 2 and 4-year-old and like, they're not here right now because I know, it's like things like that. Like they're, if it's a video, it's like, they're acting crazy, or like when you're, so you have to think about, you really have to think about, like, if it's a true remote interview and it's formal, it's not like you're working from home and everybody knows you have children or whatever. I think you really have to like plan out what you need to do, even if it's, I don't know, even for parents or people that have kids, I would tell them like, wait till nap time, or, figure out what you're going to do, or even tell the interviewer before. Everybody's different in terms of how stuck they are. But I think, like, again, if it's an interview, you have to really try to control your environment. You have to also set yourself up to be successful. Like, if certain distractions are going to make you so anxious and not perform well, then you have to really think about, what time of day do I feel great? I think also, I tell students this all the time, even when they do phone interviews or whatever, it's easy to come off much flatter when you're remote. So let's say if it's even just the phone, if you're sitting down and it's like, yeah, what, it's very easy to sound monotone. Or like, maybe like, if you're someone who doesn't have like an extremely friendly voice or a lot of intonation, like you might come off not as friendly as you are or whatever. So sometimes I think, it can feel like you're exaggerating a little bit on video or phone, but sometimes like you almost, to get your exuberance up, you have to kind of feel like, well, what would I feel like if there was a room full of people? Because we're not in that. So I think trying to, like, whether it's like picking up the phone and calling your friend first and having a laugh, or going for a walk, getting yourself like up. Because I don't know about you, I don't think we feel as up because we're not around, we're not in your life as much, right?
Well, and I would say too, for me, being able to do this with a video component is super helpful, because whenever I interview people for stories and things that we do, you get so much more when you can see the person and you can see their expressions and how they're reacting to what you're saying, and you lose that a little bit on the phone. So I have been happy that we've had this resource now to be able to do these kinds of things. I think it adds a little something.
It definitely does. So, I think perhaps for some of us, like if you have the option and you feel like you're going to come up better on in video, that could be, a good thing. And, I think, like still dressing nicely, even though, you know what I mean? And yeah, I just think, again, controlling your environment, keeping your energy up, picking a format that you feel probably the most comfortable with. And again, if you feel like you're going to have a lot of distractions that you can hide by being on the phone, or is going to make you more calm, then, like, set yourself up for success then. But what I found, which was interesting, is that so many employers, especially these really big companies, are moving into this as a first screen. Like, big companies are not, it's like, it's a program, it's a robo program. It, like, you sit in front of the computer, it asks you a question, you have like a certain amount of time to answer, you can redo it once, and then you submit it. And that's actually very nerve-wracking for students. That's more nerve-wracking for students than just doing a first round. So I think everyone says the world is going to be different post-COVID, but this was already starting. Students were already having to interview like this. And I think the biggest thing you could do, especially if you have the resources, please do a mock interview with the Center for Career Development. Practice. I find that students get a little stressed out even doing mock interviews with us, which is a good thing because it's like mimicking the experience they're going to have with the employer. So get a little uncomfortable. We have something called Interview Stream, where you can actually like go in yourself and record yourself interviewing with different questions, and it can go to a counselor, we can watch it, and then you can watch it too. It's hard to watch yourself. It's but you need that mirror and you need to see how you're doing. So that's my suggestion.
Well, hopefully our student athletes are used to scouting themselves and watching game film. So I would hope that they'd be experts in critiquing themselves.
Well, that's the thing about athletes. Like, I feel like they're so positioned for success professionally, especially because, again, they compete under pressure all the time. And like, you have this sense of constant accountability to a team and stuff. So, I mean, again, just athletes, like, everybody wants you. So that's great. Like, everybody's the most interested in athletes. I always laugh because when I talk to employers, they're like, you know who I'd love to get? I'd love to get like one of your engineers who doesn't want to do engineering. They might want to do business and is an athlete. I'm like that, to them, that's like the perfect person, the person with quantitative skills who's an athlete, but who wants to do something like not even quantitative, but just is going to use it. I'm like, but it's funny. It's like, that's the perfect prototype, but athletes always a part of that prototype. So I guess I'm also here to tell the athletes, like, I understand that you guys are probably nervous too, and there's been a lot of heartbreak for them in terms of the season and things like that. But like, you still are kind of like the most desirable candidates in the professional world.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have never met, I mean, I deal a lot with the female students. The counselors deal with the students a lot more than I do. But in terms of being on the ground with the students, like I've never met an athlete I don't like. Like they just have it, they just like have this mindset of like, I'm going to go in and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to do it right. I'm going to do it with like determination. So I guess I want to put the athletes is that, you know, you guys are in a very good position to stand out already.
Hear that, guys? Confidence booster.
Yeah.
Already ahead of the game. You've talked a lot about resources that are available, even remote. I was just wondering if there were any more that you wanted to add about people that our students can talk to, or online resources that they can go to if they have any more questions.
Sure. No, I think I should just actually go through who everybody's counselor is. I think that might be helpful, right? So for our students in the School of Business, Chris Cerruti is your counselor. For our School of Liberal Arts and School of Education and Health, Sharon D'Amelia is your counselor. For our School of Engineering and School of Science, David Belson is your counselor. I'll just tell you, we have a veteran liaison, Brother Ralph. I don't think we probably have veterans that are also athletes, but tell your friends. And then I, as the director, like, I mean, I just meet with whoever. Like, I'm never going to say, like, I end up meeting with all students. Like, whoever wants to meet me is more than welcome to meet me. So I'm all of the above. So I think, like, if you're already thinking, gosh, I need to reach out to someone, just take note of what I said. Again, I know I said handshake, but handshake, handshake, handshake. If an alum wants to post, we put there. Mm-hmm. If someone who's been, you know, recruiting Jaspers for 100 years, they go in there. So while I encourage people to look at LinkedIn Jobs and Indeed or whatever, if you're not starting on Handshake, you're silly. Like, this is the place for Manhattan College students. So definitely use that. Think about Interview Stream if you want to kind of start recording yourself and see how you do when you interview. We also have something very interesting called Vault. And what Vault does is, like, it's a lot of information about different careers, a lot of top lists of companies. So if you're like, oh, I want to work in pharma, it's going to give you like the top 50 companies pharma, and you can look at internships. So Vault is really great too. I don't know, you know, I know people are thinking about their careers, but everybody's probably just like, that's not a senior, or maybe are freshmen and sophomores, or just like, I feel so like, what do I do now? I feel so lost. If you connect with, obviously your friends and people like that, but I think connect with administrators on campus as well. Because I know you guys get kind of lost a semester of student life, especially. Like, you still see your professors progress like on your screens, but you have to kind of chase out other offices, whether it's like my office or the multicultural office. You know, it's like you'd have to, but try to tap in and use this time to get to know some other offices, so that when you're back, you know, you already feel like you've done a little research about who can help you on campus.
That's awesome. Get ahead of the game. Use this opportunity to jump on it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen our other Jasper chats, but at the end of them, we ask if there's a message of support from the person that we're speaking to. And so just as a closing, I wanted to see if you've been very supportive this whole conversation. So I feel like it's uplifting, but if there was anything you just wanted to impart to the student body in general.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like make all of this be so good. Like, you know what? COVID happened, and now like I just have all the answers, and I like, you know, got in better shape because I was able to work out more, or like I learned a new skill, or it's almost like if you're a high achieving person, there's all this pressure to like make the most out of this time. And obviously we're telling students to make the most out of this time. But if you're having a hard time doing that, what I would say is just do your schoolwork, and then just pick 1 or 2 offices on campus that you've been meaning to stop by. Mm-hmm. And every single office is offering some sort of virtual thing. Like, we have to. Don't put pressure on yourself that like, after this is done, I have to have the perfect resume, and I have to have, you know, done a million different mock interviews. Like, of course I want that. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure to make this time so perfect. And I think for some of us, we might be struggling. It's weird. So my suggestion would be like, focus on your schoolwork and really just say, I'm going to get to know another office. I want to know 2 names from an office. what's the office you've been trying to get to learn more about? And just do that. And then you might surprise yourself. You might feel inspired. But just get through it. Find your people that make you feel good. Find a hobby that makes you feel safe and easy and normal again. And just that, like, we're going to all be so excited to see each other when we get back. And, you know, that's the blessing. And, you know, school's great. And we've all been doing a lot of great things online for students. We care about you. And we're just excited to get back to work. So reach out to us and, you know, have a great holiday weekend.
We're here for you, Jasper Nation. Let us know what you need, for sure. That was really special. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you again for your time. I appreciate it so much, especially we're recording this on technically a holiday. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time and for having so much insight into what our students can do. I'm sure they're going to appreciate it.
Yes, my pleasure.
Thank
So have a good rest of the day.
you too. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
All right, bye.
Bye.